Good evening, everyone. The time has gone 7:45. A huge welcome to everyone. Guten Wocht. Shavua Tov. I hope you all had a fantastic Shabbat. Sean, you're looking particularly relaxed.
Howie, I am very relaxed.
Does that mean you didn't have to schlep all the way to Shul? You could go to Shul this week if you had registered beforehand and were one of the 15 people designated and allowed in. Did you give it a try or did you stay at home?
No, I'm not brave enough yet.
Okay.
I'm still working up the courage.
I think the objective here is to stay alive for as long as possible.
Exactly.
Good, fantastic. And I see we're joined by an amazing panel of people tonight. Liat, I said earlier, Guten Woch to you, but of course you are not Ashkenazi. So I should have said Shavua Tov. How is your Yiddish?
Not so good. My husband speaks English, but I'm not.
So people do not know, but in fact, you are Temani, you are Yemenite, are you not?
No. I'm Tunisian.
Tunisian. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Tunisian. Okay, so and any Ladino in there at all or no Ladino?
No Ladino. My grandparents speak Jewish Arabic.
Okay.
But my parents, when they have been born in Israel, they decided not to keep it. So unfortunately, I'm not understanding Arabic at all.
Okay, but you do fairly well in English and Hebrew. Any other languages?
Russian a bit.
Okay.
A bit, and Spanish when we were traveling in South America, but really not enough to communicate.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us this evening. And Kiki Marks, where do you join us from?
Hi, Howard. Good morning. I'm from Joburg. I live in Joburg. Yeah.
You live in Joburg, but you spend an awful lot of your time in water. So where on earth do you practice in Johannesburg? Because we don't have a sea, we don't have an ocean, and you have spent inordinate amounts of time in the Dead Sea, in the English Channel, swimming to Robben Island. So how does one practice if you live inland?
It's always difficult because you can't acclimatize to the seawater temperature, but and to the current. But I do most of my swimming either at Sydenham Pool or Kingsmead Pool, or the Old Aids Outdoor Pool, and then in the gym at Planet Fitness Wanderers most of my swimming.
So you don't go into kind of the Zoo Lake or the Boksburg Lake, because that could probably kill you.
No, I'm not going in there, no. Although there are some people, there's a beautiful pool at Zoo Lake. Next door to the lake, there's actually a pool that a lot of people swim at.
But all your practice is actually done in clean water with chlorine in and just going up and down many hundreds of lengths at a time.
Correct, but mad.
a bit mad. Dina Diamond, it sounds a lot mad to me. What do you think?
Howie, I'm with you. I think, listen, I have to tell you, I was officially met by Kiki when we were on a trip together in Poland. And she was this quiet girl just going about her business. I did not realize who we were dealing with at that stage. I mean, what she's only accomplished is crazy. I mean, literally, we were in Poland. She literally just carried on. No, never speak. Kiki doesn't speak loud. She doesn't like tell everyone what she does. She just carries on, goes about her business, and it's unbelievable. No, Kiki, you're incredible.
Thank you, Dina.
So,
but
Dina,
I agree with Howard, it is mad.
When last were you in a swimming pool, Dina?
So I have to tell you, well, it's been a bit of winter lately. So I'm trying to even think when the last time I was in water. I must tell you that, I don't think I did tell you this, but I actually at one point took swimming lessons again when my kids were at school and they had swimming lessons. I decided that I wanted to learn how to do the strokes properly. Obviously, I knew how to swim, but if you don't know how to swim correctly, and Kiki, you will know this, as Shireen will as well, if you don't know how to correctly swim with the strokes, etc., then you're not swimming properly and it's not efficient. So yeah, at a bit of a later age, I think I learned to swim properly. And I love it. I do love it, but I just don't have enough time to swim.
I have visions of Danny Kadar in the Sydenham swimming pool, maybe doing doggy paddle. Danny, how is your doggy paddle?
It's horrific, Howard. The last time I went swimming was at gym. I thought it would be a great workout. After not even getting halfway through the first lap, my goggles were all foggy. I was like trying to get my breath, half drowning. Took my goggles off, and to my humiliation, there was a 12-year-old girl that was probably on her 8th lap in one shot, and then I just gave up on my swimming. So that was my swimming experience.
So Shireen, where do you in fact train?
I used to train in Bedford View at St. Andrew's School for Girls. And then I moved down to Durban and I started swimming with Chad Leclos and with Graham Hill. And then obviously I retired at the Rio 2016 Paralympics. And then to get me into a pool sometimes is like hard work. I sometimes just think the tank is empty. So when I do get into the pool now, I try my very best to enjoy it. But like I automatically click over into that like focused athlete that I used to be, that I'm trying so hard to find that like that rhythm again where I can get into the pool and actually enjoy it and not see it as a chore or something that I have to do. So yeah, like I actually went swimming on Monday because the gyms opened on Monday, and my shoulders and my pecs they're in agony. I can hardly lift up my arms.
So Shireen, I have a very personal question. You don't have to answer it.
Okay.
But I believe that Olympians, it is one of the medals of honor that you tattoo Olympic rings to your body after you become an Olympian. Did you do that?
No, I just couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't do it. Like I think after my first Olympics, like I was 17 and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go and get the rings, and I just never got around to it.
So now you were in Beijing. That was your first Olympics. Your second Olympics?
London 2012.
London 2012, and then Rio again. So I was at the Olympics Rio. I didn't get to the Paralympics, unfortunately, but I can tell you I spent days and days at the swimming pool. I watched all of Chad Leclos' races. I watched Michael Phelps win all of his gold medals. Wow. And it will be one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't there to watch you swim as well.
And let me tell you, you missed out big time.
I have no doubt, but I can pop down to Durban whenever I want and watch you swim. Now that gyms are open.
Yeah, you can, exactly.
So there's something so unique and special about the Paralympics. I mean, here you've got people that have faced like probably some of the biggest adversities in life, and they show up to the pool, and I mean, to watch someone dive off a swimming block that has absolutely no legs, till this day, it still humbles me, even though I'm part of the movement and I'm like, I went through my own story and whatever, but to be able to witness other people doing these extraordinary things, it's just, there's something about the Paralympics that just, it's completely different to the Olympics. Like, of course, we athletes, yeah. And like we put in just as much effort and hours, but sure, I think we have to do so much more actually.
That's an amazing, amazing story. But of course, it should have been the Olympics right now. In fact, my plans were to be in Tokyo at the moment at the Olympics, but apparently the universe had other plans.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm so grateful that I retired in Rio, because I don't know if I would have had it in me to like wait a whole nother year to go ahead and retire in Tokyo. So I think I retired at the perfect time. Hey.
So Kiki, like, have you hung up your bikini yet?
You'll never see me in a bikini, Howie. But no, I haven't hung up my swimming costumes at all. I got into the pool about 3 weeks ago and I'm swimming, and I have some future plans, so which is great.
So you know, we joined with all these athletes tonight because Sean, even though he doesn't admit it, is really a proper athlete, even though he can't stay upright on his bicycle. But Sean, do you feel a little humbled by the company you're in this evening?
Oh, completely, Howie, completely. It's an extraordinary group of people. I'm honored to play a small part in it, and absolutely humbled and inspired, actually.
So we haven't checked on Liat's athletic abilities, and to be fair, she answers that question. The time is 5 to 8. This is an informal chat. We're going live at about 2 minutes past 8 with our panel, ordinary to extraordinary. But we want to welcome everyone who's in the room already. So a huge welcome to everyone who's signed up. Please let us know in the chat. Let us know where you're from. I see Aubrey and Etienne have joined us from Toronto again. We've got some people in Cape Town. Shofar, talk to you all. Please use the chat section and let us know where in the world you are as we check on Liat Amar Arran's fantastic athletic abilities.
I'm just running, but not an athletic.
So are you a jogger? Are you a fitness expert?
Not expert, but just jogging for my fun and fitness. And I'm living on the ridge. So I'm feeling always so good to run with all the people that practicing on the ridge like 10, 20 times, Linksfield Ridge. And I'm running it like 2-3 times, and it will be enough for me. But I'm feeling good with all the athletics that running there.
Can you make it all the way up Sylvia's Pass?
Yeah.
Okay, I can barely do that in my car. I don't know about you, Dina.
I walked Sylvia's Pass once on Shabbos, and that was enough for me. I thought I needed an oxygen tank. It was like summiting Mount Everest.
But Danny, my understanding is you walk down, not up.
It just highlights how challenging it is, Howard.
Dina, do you think that people who keep Shabbat are fitter than people who don't, just because they do all of this walking on a Friday night and Saturday?
Well, I think it's if they do go walking. It definitely does keep you fit if you decide not to stay home and if you actually decide to venture out and do the 5Ks to whatever area you're not in. So I think Shabbos can keep you fit, but I have definitely seen those who do keep, some people who do Shabbos tend not to walk anywhere. They see it as a complete day of rest and they take it off.
But now, Dina, you've built a home gym during lockdown because you're a very athletic family. I know whenever we're on a Zoom call, you always have to go off because your fitness instructor is waiting for you on Zoom. So tell us what you've installed in your home.
So we do have a rower, a elliptical step machine, a bicycle. We've got a TRX, which are those straps that you pull down. I've got exercise balls. We've got weights, benches. So yeah, I've also started skateboarding. Lockdown has given me an opportunity to start skateboarding with my kids because they were very keen on skateboarding. So we've been biking, we've been skateboarding. It's been awesome. I must say it's been a great opportunity again within lockdown. I know the gyms have opened up again for swimming. I actually was swimming last season though, so I don't even know when the last time I swam was. And also at the gym with my kids, which is awesome because then I become a swimming instructor. Although I must tell you, I probably have got no hope. But yeah, I think keeping fit is just it helps with your mental state of mind. And people through lockdown have gone through a very sort of tough time mentally. It's been hard for everyone to stay home, and I think exercise keeps people a bit happier. It releases endorphins, effects. So I think exercise is an absolute wonderful thing and a savior.
So Liat, you've got what, 4 boys? Is that correct?
Yes.
How do you keep them off the screens and physically active during lockdown?
No, it's not easy. Soccer, a lot of soccer. And also, one of the soccer club do have Zoom practicing for them. We have also Just Dance. You know Just Dance?
I don't.
Just Dance, it's an online game that you're dancing in front of other people dancing. So it keeps us all in a move, but mainly soccer, running, playing, hide and seek and stuff like that, keeping them moving. And I'm running, so sometimes they join me for 3K, 5K and running with me.
My sense is that Sean probably does Just Dance because he does everything online. Sean, are you on both Zwift and Just Dance?
Certainly Zwift. I'm going to look into Just Dance, Howie.
I see that Lindsay Creel says she loves Just Dance, and a huge welcome to everyone. We're going live in 2 minutes time. If you haven't told us where in the world you are, please let us know. I see we've got an inordinate number of people from London who are busy watching us this evening. Kiki, I can't help thinking that's probably your fan club.
I'm very fortunate to have some wonderful friends in London. I lived there for 4 years, so it may very well be some of my friends.
So we had Johnny Bromberg on the show on Wednesday night. We had this amazing show about vaccines and where we are in the international race on vaccines. And when I said to him, oh, we've got like 1,200 people registered, it was fairly early on, he said, oh yeah, that's all my family. So Sean, tell us, for those people who don't know, give us a 30-second version of Zwift.
So Zwift is an online gaming platform where mad adults from all over the world are gaming on indoor trainers. So it's a great way to exercise, but it's playing a game, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, in your real day job, you actually are at Vitality.
That's correct.
So how have you found people's physical activity during lockdown? Have people made an effort, or are people still sitting on the couch?
No, so I think it's been tough, and we saw in the beginning certainly activity levels dropped off, but we've been watching it very closely. You know, have 20 million customers all around the world on our platform, and we've certainly seen it increasing over the last few months, and we're working very hard to get everyone physically active, because there can be no greater antidote to managing the effects of COVID-19 by staying active. So far so good, but lots more to do.
Sean, you said 20 million members. In how many countries is that?
24 countries on 6 continents.
So can you tell us, well, I presume you have no one in Antarctica?
No.
Okay, not yet.
not yet, Howie.
But can you tell us, where in the world are people most physically active?
So that's a good question. You know, we measure it all on a relative basis, but the people that are most engaged on our platform are the Japanese.
Really? So we've always mocked you because you go to Japan fairly often, and you have a company song, do you not, in Japan?
No, that's in China.
Oh, is it that in China, where they sing a company song every morning before they go into work?
Absolutely.
Would you like to share a few bars with us?
Not at all. No,
okay.
no, definitely not. I'd rather go and Just Dance.
Well, thank you. I look forward to next Saturday night, you giving us a rendition of Just Dance. So in fact, the time has just gone 2 minutes past 8. A huge welcome to everyone. We have lots of people from all over the world who've joined us this evening, especially large numbers from the UK tonight, maybe because Kiki Marks swam from the UK to France or vice versa. She'll tell us the details a little later. But on behalf of the South African Jewish Report, a huge welcome. This is, can you believe it, our 49th webinar of lockdown. So when we began this, we thought we'd have one, and we had a group of doctors and a psychologist on, and we thought we'd help people through the starts of lockdown and COVID by providing practical information. And never, ever did we in our wildest dreams believe that, in fact, 48 webinars later, we'd still be going. But a huge welcome and thank you to everyone who's joined. The Jewish Report is absolutely honored to be able to provide the service through to our community and to the general South African community as well. It really is such a privilege and an honor to do so. But Sean, you are in fact going to be hosting the 50th webinar of lockdown. Tell us about that.
So, Howie, I never thought of it as the 50th, so that's a very exciting milestone. I'm honored and privileged to do that. But actually, we've all been through this massive digital transformation and this digital experiment over the last 6 months. But perhaps what we really need to go back to is our roots and reading. We call the people of the book, and I think the book has held us in tremendous stead over thousands of years. So what we want to go back to is some very basic ideas of the power of reading, particularly in early development of children. We've got a fantastic panel. We've got Dr. Scott Goldberg from Yeshiva University. Laura Humdinger, who's the director of the PJ Library, a global program of reading of Jewish stories around the world from the UK, and Elizabeth Nadlanier from UCT, who's a facilitator and director of the Reading Language Gym, of course, Batya Bricker, who's an educator and a general manager at Exclusive Books. So we're going to have, I think, a very engaging and interesting conversation on reading, screens, the power of development, and what we should all be doing. So we hope to see everyone on Thursday night and to add a lot of value and remind us that there is an app for your lap.
So Sean, tell us, you've clearly read to all your children. What's their favorite book?
I think, I think I'd have to say it's Julia Donaldson's The Gruffalo. I think that probably ranks at the top across all my kids.
And given that you've read to all your kids, are they now big readers, or is that something that they've given up as they've gotten older?
I've got 4 wonderful children, and I'd say some are better readers than others. But I hope over time that all will continue to be readers.
And do you get time in your very, very busy schedule to actually still read?
Yes, it's one of the things I love to do the most.
Fiction, non-fiction?
I'm more of a non-fiction guy, but I do dip into fiction from time to time.
So tell us what's next to your bedside table at the moment.
So I'm reading a very gripping book on Putin's people by Catherine Bolton. Extraordinary book on what's taken place in Putin's Russia. Read a lot about Putin, and this really does dig up the dirt. So I'm halfway through, and actually I'm sure I'll be back at it later this evening. It really is an extraordinary story.
So Sean, when you finish that, I'm prepared to swap, because next to my bed is a book about Putin called The Last Tsar.
I've read that one. This one's
okay.
better. But I'll pass it on.
And after that, do we go on to Red Notice?
No, that was done a long time ago. I actually saw Bill Browder on a Richard Poplack webinar a few weeks ago, which was also very, very interesting.
Dina, you were saying?
I'm saying you should have already read Red Notice. It's already been a favorite for a long time, and it is superb for anyone who hasn't read it.
So now, talking about reading, do you think all of the people watching us tonight have read the latest edition of the Jewish Report, which you should be able to see right behind me? Dina, have you read it?
I have actually. I have indeed. That's what I do on Shabbat. I managed to get a chance to actually read a bit. And as usual, outstanding standard from our editor, wonderful editor, Peter Crossmiller, and there's always just fascinating bits and pieces in there that you actually just can't believe how much there's actually packed into one newspaper on every single week, and she does it continuously. So yeah, it's a great read.
So I must tell you, there were 2 things in the Jewish Report I absolutely loved this week. One was all those photographs of people going back to shul in the different shuls. That was a beautiful photographic essay that I absolutely loved. And the article that I found fascinating was on the return of looted Nazi artworks back to the Jewish community, and how, in fact, if you believe your family have lost one of an artwork during the Holocaust, how you can claim it back. That I thought was wonderful. Does anyone else have a favorite article that they enjoyed in the Jewish Report this week? Just putting everyone on spot.
I have to tell you, this is one of my favorites, because I love that Klimt painting. I love the story of Klimt. There was the movie that was made about it. And there's also another movie, and that's the picture, obviously, that's featured in the paper. But there was also the movie that Brad Pitt featured in about them stealing the actual artworks. I think it's all fascinating. I'm sure there's tons that is still hidden away that we haven't recovered.
The Girl in the Golden Dress, I think, was the name of the movie, if I remember correctly.
I think that was it.
Danny Cato, you're on controls this evening. Before you turn off your camera and go tweak all the buttons, do you want to tell us which was your favorite article in the Jewish Report this week?
Which better one, Howard, to close off Women's Month than these remarkable nurses that we featured in our newspaper? I mean, we give so much kudos to the amazing medical, community services and our doctors and our nurses that have just gone above and beyond during the time of COVID. But, I know some of these remarkable young ladies, they keep such a low profile. They're so quiet, they're so humble. And just to read the remarkable work that they do, how not only they're putting their lives at risk, but They just give so much emotional and psychological support to these patients. It was just truly inspiring to read. So that was my personal favorite this week.
Fantastic. Thank you, Danny. Thank you. You're on controls this evening. Really appreciate it. And to let everyone know, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see, as always, a chat button. You'll see a Q&A button. If you have any questions that you want to ask any of our panelists, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. But if you just want to chat along and communicate with people, we've created a digital town square. So please feel free, to the literally thousands of people who've joined us this evening, please feel free, whether we're on YouTube, to use the chat section, or alternatively on Zoom, use the chat section, and let's communicate with each other as we go through. So we started about a week ago with a shofar blowing competition. And we decided we wanted to find the best shofar blower in all of South Africa. So we've showed twice some of the entrants, and the entries are absolutely pouring in. We want to hear a tekiya, a shvarim, a trua, and a tekiya gedola. And please send your entries into webinars@sajuicereport.co.za. But we'd like to show you some of tonight's entries.
של שושנים הצלנה אל הבוסתן מור וסמים ולבונה לרגלך מפתן ערב של שושנים.
wonderful day.
Thank you. Damn, Dina, those were good.
Damn, it looks like competition is hotting up. I mean, I don't know. I know you and Benji have bets on who's going to win, but I think that there's a lot of stiff competition in this one. And those shofarot, I've never seen such long ones in my life.
I can tell you my money is on Rabbi Chazdan, and he sent me one that the Tekiah Gedola was so long, it would have taken up the entire webinar tonight. Just saying, we'll play that on Thursday night. So before we begin, we want to thank Thirst. Thirst are one of our major sponsors, and it's a really huge honor and pleasure. Such decent human beings. Functions are back. We're so happy that Thirst are able to operate again. They're able to deliver alcohol to you. And if you're having a bar mitzvah, a wedding, and Dina, you and I were at a Zoom bar mitzvah on Friday afternoon. So if you have a function coming up, Thirst are your answers. Danny, please show us the Thirst ad. Alcohol is back. We're not there yet, but the good times will return. So why not get whatever you need from Thirst's online store? The best thing about it, instead of schlepping to the shops, you'll receive delivery within 24 hours. Get your orders in fast, because who knows when the next ban is coming. Details in the chat. And the best thing yet, now that events are open up to 50 people, take advantage of Thirst 50% off bar hire for your wedding, birthday, bar mitzvah, or next celebrations. Details in the chat. So, Danny, I have absolutely no idea what you're trying to show us there, but you certainly didn't show us the Thirst ad. So we saw your blank screen. So we'll come back, and if you could play us that Thirst ad again, we'd be very grateful.
Should I give it another shot, Howard, or coming back?
We'll come back to it a little later on in the show. Thanks, Danny. So it is a huge pleasure. Dina, my co-board director of the South African Jewish Report, you have assembled the most amazing, remarkable panel, and you've called it From Ordinary to Extraordinary. But when I look at your three panelists for this evening, all of them look remarkably extraordinary to me. So Liat, Arran, a huge welcome. Kiki Marks, Shireen Sapiro, a huge welcome to you all. Dina, this is your show. Tell us what we have in store.
So yes, so being Women's Month, we thought we couldn't sort of get away yet until we had another remarkable panel of women that we have that really just show us what endurance is about, what perseverance is all about, and also just really you choosing your own destiny, you choosing what you can achieve in your life, no matter what the obstacles. And I think every single one of the women on our panels tonight is beyond an example of that. I mean, if we look at Shireen, she has competed in the Olympics, she's been in the Paralympics, she's been a gold medalist, she's been in 3 Olympics. It's just phenomenal to see how much work she's done. We look at Kiki Marks, she has climbed Kilimanjaro, she has swum the Red Sea, she has swum Robben Island and basically conquered the English Channel. I mean, I don't even know how anyone even does one of those. And then we've got Liat Amar, who has literally also traveled the world. She's been in Russia for a few months. We'll talk about that, hopefully. She is a major peace activist between the Palestinians and the Jews in Israel. She just also has got such a rich history and such a rich story that I think we've just got such a phenomenal panel tonight. I'm so excited to listen to every single one of the stories that we're going to hear.
Fantastic. So where do we begin?
So we are going to begin with Shireen, and that's Sapiro, not with an H. She said she doesn't know where the H went. So we think somewhere in Lithuania it went missing, somewhere in the oceans, I think. So we're going to ask our other panelists just to turn off their cameras, and we're going to begin talking to Shireen, talking about her story, and just getting a better view. Because Shireen, I don't know how, but you've managed to stay a bit under the radar. I don't know how you've managed to do that. How?
I think it's probably like a decision I've made rather to stay under the radar. I think after I retired from swimming, I really needed to take time to figure out exactly who I was, and not be attached to the stigma of being Shireen, the champion swimmer, and actually just finding my way through the world as just Shireen. So I've actually just stayed under the radar trying to figure that all out, which is an ongoing process. Sorry to let you down, I haven't figured it out yet, but piece by piece we get there, hey?
Absolutely. But I think let's start at the beginning. I think our people who are not familiar with you, please can you just tell them your story? So so you weren't always categorized to be in the Paralympics, you were an able-bodied swimmer, but you had an accident as a child.
Sure. So, geez, where do I even begin? Growing up, I was a gymnast, and I actually had my hopes and dreams set on becoming an Olympic gymnast. I mean, my mom represented South Africa in gymnastics, so obviously that was the road I was going to follow. And sure, piece by piece, gymnastics just slowly started fading out of the way, because one of my best friends at the time was actually a swimmer at school. And I started swimming like twice a week in the afternoons, just so that we could hang out more often. And like I said, then piece by piece, swimming just started, gymnastics just started fading away, and swimming just completely took over. And before I knew it, like, this friend of mine was the top swimmer in our school. And before I knew it, I was the top swimmer in the school. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something we can work with. And then swimming just became my whole entire life. It became double sessions every day from about the age of 10 years old. And then at the age of 13, I just made my first national team to represent our country at like the junior nationals. And in the April of that year, I never got the opportunity to go because I had my accident. So I was water skiing behind a speedboat on the Val Dam, behind my parents' speedboat. And I was slalom skiing, and I fell into the water. And as I fell into the water, my mom raised the red flag, and they came around to come and pick me up. And as their boat turned around, another speedboat just came out of absolutely nowhere and drove straight over me. So the propeller of the speedboat came in at my navel and left all the way at the clevis of my bum, basically ripping my body into the only thing that was keeping my leg attached to my body was the inner skin in my groin. So my pelvic girdle was separated into 9 different pieces. You've got your hip joint, and then the leg that attaches into the hip joint, it was completely detached. So my parents rushed to the side to the water where I was lying in the water, and they lifted me out of the water, and literally my mom had to catch the whole of my left side and push it up into the speedboat, and I was rushed back to shore. And then I was airlifted to the Union Hospital in Alberton, where I spent 8 months flat on my back in traction. And I basically had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to swim again. And this time I had to learn how to swim again with only half of my body functioning properly. So because of the speedboat, because of how the propeller had cut through me, my abdominals, my hip flexors, my quadriceps, and my glutes, all on the left-hand side of my body, are completely paralyzed. Yeah, that picture that you guys are currently seeing, that's the first time I ever stood up after not the first time ever. The first time I stood up after probably like 8 months flat on my back in traction. And I think I stood up for maybe 10 seconds before like completely fainting. So yeah, I spent about 2 years in at the Auckland Park Rehabilitation Center, learning how to walk again. And I was on crutches for like also 2 years because I was afraid. I was really, really afraid. I mean, now I had to walk with only half of my body functioning properly. I had to swim with only half of my body functioning properly. And the physio at the rehabilitation center actually suggested, she was like, why don't you try disability swimming? And I was like, oh, disability swimming? Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, I'm completely normal. And I mean, like, you can imagine what I went through. I was only 13 years old, from being number 1 in the country to literally now having to change the whole direction of my life, and look at myself as someone who has a disability. So it was a huge shock for me, a huge shock to my system. And eventually my mom convinced me, and she was like, let's just go give it a go. And I went to the Mandeville swimming pool, and like once a month they hosted disability galas, and I swam, and I actually swam the 50-meter freestyle, and I broke the SA record. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe let me give this disability swimming a go. And I got back into the pool and I started training like really, really hard. So I'd had my accident in 2004. And by 2008, I had already managed to make my way to the Paralympic Games. And at the Paralympic Games, I managed to break the 100-meter backstroke world record and come away with a gold medal, which made me South Africa's youngest ever Olympian. Never mind the fact that I managed to get a gold medal with it. And from there, it just went poof. My career just took off. I managed to make it to the London 2012 Paralympics, where I got a bronze medal. And then all the way 4 years later to the Rio Paralympics, where I retired. So for me to push on to actually make it to 3 Paralympic Games was like, it's sometimes I actually can't even believe that this is what my life became. So that's my story.
Shireen, when you were lying in hospital, was there any doubt in your mind that you would get through this, that you would be able to function again? Were there dark moments, or was it always, I know I'm going to get through this, I know I'm going to be normal, I'm going to be okay?
It's the craziest thing. Like, I don't even know how I did it. There was not one day where I could find any anger inside of me. There wasn't a day where I could find any, like, let me just lie on my back now and let me accept this as my life. I always knew that I was going to get back up. I was going to get back into the pool. So like, when I look back on it, it sounds like, oh my gosh, like, how did you do it? But I suppose I just did day by day. I just focused exactly on the present moment, trying to get through exactly what I have to do right now so that I can make it to the Beijing Paralympics or wherever I needed to be. So it's crazy. I don't know where I found that strength from, but I suppose it existed inside of me if I was able to do it.
And when you started swimming, like, did you think that, okay, the Olympics are next, that's the goal?
Yeah, so like I said, I had my hopes and dreams set on becoming an Olympic gymnast. And then I was like, leave gymnastics, I'm going to become an Olympic swimmer. And then very quickly my dream had to change again. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to become a Paralympic swimmer. And that's exactly what I did.
And how much training did you have to do for that? I mean, you had to, obviously, you've just been through an ordeal. You've been on your back for 8 months. You must have needed extensive rehabilitation to literally just even start swimming properly again.
Yeah, I mean, I used to spend the whole entire day. Luckily, in the beginning, I was an inpatient for like the first month. And then luckily, they let me become an outpatient. But I spent the whole entire day in rehabilitation from morning till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And once I managed to get back into the pool where I was able to tumble turn without pain, without the physios being afraid of like stuff happening inside the hips, once I got the go ahead to start training, oh, it was so hectic. I mean, we used to get into the pool at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then we out of the pool by like 7:30. And then 12 o'clock midday, I'm in the gym lifting weights for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then from 4 o'clock, back like 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock back into the pool. So it was my whole entire life. So that's why I say, like, now when I get into the pool, I kind of like go into shock. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't do all of that all over again, you know. But it was hard work. It's hard work. It's really hard work.
So tell us what it's like to be an Olympian. You arrive in Beijing, there's that bird's nest stadium. You're going to walk in with the South African flag. You're representing your country. Tell us what goes through your head. What are your emotions? What is that experience like when you realize what you've achieved?
Howie, sometimes I can't even put it into words. Like, it's definitely something that changes you for the rest of your life. I mean, you've reached the biggest thing you can possibly reach as a swimmer. So everything is just so surreal. Like, you working for 4 years, like blood, sweat, and tears. You put in absolutely every part of yourself, and then you're there for 3 weeks, and then it's over. So it's surreal. The whole experience is completely surreal, and I feel so humbled and so privileged that I got to experience it 3 times. Like, I mean, most athletes do it once and they call it a day. I managed to do it 3 times, and geez, I couldn't be more grateful for it. Hey,
do the people at the Olympics mix with each other? Do all the swimmers from all the teams get together? Is it a huge party?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, you make friends from all over the world. So not only do you make friends with the swimmers, but you make friends from like athletics to table tennis to equestrian. It's the most incredible thing. And once you arrive into the Olympic Village, everyone is serious and everyone is focused, and everybody's eating 100% correctly. And yeah, by like week 2, you can see that like the intensity is starting to settle down and the fun is starting to erupt. Yeah. And then you have the most incredible time. I mean, each country is allocated like a building, and in that building is where the athletes stay. And like I said, the first week you're in your building, and by the 3rd week you're in everybody else's building. Your house doesn't even exist anymore, you know. And so McDonald's is the sponsor. It's the Olympic sponsor. And it's actually so funny. Like I said, in the beginning, everyone's sticking to their diet. We're super serious. We're in the gym. We're in the pool. Everyone's at the vegetable sections, because the Olympic dining hall has absolutely everything you can possibly think of. The fridges are like from here to Timbuktu. You can't even see the end of the dining hall. And yeah, halfway through, nobody's at the food stands. Everybody's at the McDonald's. So it's absolutely incredible. Like there's no words for it. There's no words for it.
When you actually walk into that stadium, what goes through your head for the first time?
I made it. I actually did it.
That's what you're actually going to win. Did you think that you had a chance?
Yeah, I did. I knew that. Like, I went into the games being number 1 in the world. So I definitely knew that I stood a good shot. And if I didn't come home with the gold, it was definitely something that I did wrong, for sure. And it's so crazy, because I swam my race, and I can remember holding onto the blocks, and as the official said, take your marks, and I pulled myself up because I'm a backstroker, so I start in the water. The only thing I could hear, I think there were like 60,000 people in the stadium that night, and the only thing I could hear was my heart beating inside of my throat. And then I just took off and I swam the biggest race of my life, and I touched the wall, and I turned around to look at the big board, which was behind me, and it just said, oh.
So
Shireen Sapiro, gold medal, new world record. And
so tell us what race that was.
Listen, it was so painful, hey. It was so painful. The first 50 meters, I was feeling so strong. I was going, and I was like on my pace, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I did my tumble turn, and I think the last 50, I think the adrenaline started to wear off, and I was like, it actually felt like my whole entire body was shutting down. And I knew, oh my gosh, Shireen, just keep your arms going, just keep your legs like in the best constant movement you possibly can. And I managed to pull it through, and I touched the wall. And you know, like when I looked up and I saw Shireen Sapiro gold medal, new world record, like a small part of me was happy, but the majority of me was just relieved that it was over. Because I mean, the amount of pressure that I felt and the amount of pressure that I was under, it's actually terrible. It's not nice. It's hard.
How do you cope with that? Because you have overcome so much adversity and you rose to the top. But how did you do that? What is it inside of you that makes you want to compete, that makes you want to succeed, that drives you?
I'm a 100% person. So whenever I take on a task, I am 100% committed to that. So if I decide, okay, I'm going to be the best in the world at swimming, I will 100% commit myself to that. And I often describe it as tunnel vision. So it's almost like I'm in a tunnel where the whole world can be happening outside this tunnel, and it's irrelevant to what I'm going for. So I think that's how I did it. And that's how I decided that I will walk again, and I will swim again, and I will become the best in the country and the best in the world.
So Shireen, I want to go back to the race. What race was it? It was 100 meters backstroke, was it not? Who was your main competition?
There were two. There was a girl from New Zealand. Her name was Sophie Pascoe, and a girl from Spain, Esther Morales. And until today, we're still great friends, which is so cool.
I want to show you a very quick video, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sophie Pascoe from New Zealand is in lane 4. She was almost a full 2 seconds faster in her qualifying time than the rest of the athletes in the field. Shireen Sapiro from the Republic of South Africa is in lane 5. A nerve-wracking time for the swimmers. And they're away. Cleanly this time. Reasonable start.
I'm just a man on his way to the moon. All the stars.
Pascoe and Sapiro, the main swimmers in contention, going into the 50-metre turn. And it is Sapiro from South Africa in lane 5 who touches in first at the 50-metre mark. And she may be building a slight lead over Pascoe. Let's have a better look at the race. It really is really close at this stage of the race as they round into the final stretches. Pascoe and Sapiro, it's between the two of them, and it's going to be a touch in it for the end of this race. And Pascoe has touched in 1:10.57. No, it looks as though it's been called a dead heat. It's 1:10.57, Sapiro and Pascoe. So Esther Morales will be given the bronze medal.
Oh my goodness.
Do you not watch it every night before you go to bed?
Do you know, like when I watch it, it's too much for me. I can't watch it. Like watching it now, I want to cry. I haven't watched it for years, so that was amazing. Thank you so much.
So it's a dead heat. It's like, it's almost unheard of that something like that happens. But you're going to go up, you're going to stand on that podium, they're going to play the South African anthem. Tell us about that. Walk us through your emotions when you're standing on that #1 block at the Olympics.
Oh my goodness. You know, like Howie, for real, it's just so surreal. It's like, is this real life? Is this actually happening to me, you know? But it's just pure pride. It's just pure pride that you're able to carry your nation's flag, and you're able to carry like so much responsibility. Because I mean, at that young age, I automatically became a role model for young women, you know. And for me to be able to stand there and to be a testament for what it means to like endure hardship and to accept your body for how it is. I mean, my body is completely scarred. Like I've got the biggest scars all over my body, but just to be able to stand there and to be like, you know what, no matter what you go through, it's okay. It is okay.
Phenomenal. And this wasn't the only time you've represented South Africa. You also carried the flag at the Maccabi Games. You walked into the stadium representing South Africa.
Yeah. I mean, also that was just such a huge honor for me. And I mean, I've been able to experience the coolest things, you know, and do the most amazing things. And you know what? If it wasn't for my accident, I don't know if these things would have materialized, you know. So I'm just so humbled by it. Hey, I honestly just couldn't be more grateful for the journey that is unfolded in front of me.
So let's talk about what you mentioned, a role model for other girls. So how has that played itself out in your life?
Well, I think it's also, like, first and foremost, like I mentioned, just body acceptance, like being able to accept your body for what it is and what it currently goes through. Also, I think also for disabled young girls, I mean, to be able to see what I went through and what I was able to achieve, and just being able to be okay with it. And then there's the side of me that teaches, like, young girls how to swim. And for me, that's just, oh my gosh, I couldn't ask for anything better. To see them progress and to see them learn how to put one hand in front of the other and to become comfortable in the water, and then to share love for the water the same way I share it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
So tell us about Olympics #2. Beijing is where got you your gold medal. You then get selected again for London.
Yeah. So after Beijing, I obviously became like this South African golden girl, and Shireen, every time she swims, she breaks a world record and this and this, and a lot of pressure just got piled onto me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how much longer I can actually keep this up. And I started increasing my training, and I started getting the most intense shoulder injuries. And I actually went into the London Games like very, very, very injured. And it was hard. It was very hard. I mean, here I'm trying to keep up this training regime, and I'm in pain, like, and not pain from my hips or from my accident or anything like that, literally injury pain. So the fact that I walked away with a bronze medal in London was also one of the proudest moments of my career, because I had to work so much harder to get it. Like Beijing was like, it was kind of, I like to say it was kind of like a deer in headlights, where like I had no idea what I was actually doing, man. I was just going there and I was going to swim and do my thing. London, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly what it meant to stand behind a block with 60,000 people there cheering for you. And there was this pressure on me, like, okay, you did it in Beijing, go do it in London. And yeah, so like I said, just walking away with a medal was huge. It was such a massive, it was amazing. I was so grateful for it. Jeez.
Dina, should we ask Shireen some of the questions that have come in from members of the audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Shireen, people are saying, what a role model, well done. And they're saying such a good role model for women. And then someone's saying, and for men.
So Shireen, people want to know, what about schooling? What happened to your schooling during this process?
Sure. So I actually had the most amazing coach, and he refused to coach me unless I went to school, which I thought was super, super cool of him to do that, because when you're competing at that level, to go to school in between training sessions, it's really hard. I mean, I went from the pool straight to school, straight to the gym, back to school, straight back into the pool. So I managed to matriculate and I managed to get through school. And after that, I went to university. So yeah, like, I'll be forever grateful for my coach for sticking to that rule. I think it's very important. If my children one day want to become athletes, I will make sure that they stay in school. I definitely think it's very, very, very important.
Right. And another question that's coming in now, it said that you mentioned that all the muscles on the left side of your body were paralyzed, but obviously in the pictures from Beijing and Rio, you're standing. Are you able to stand and walk unaided at the moment?
yeah, I can stand and I can walk. Like I said to you, it was part of the deal. Like I wouldn't accept that I wouldn't be able to walk. I climb mountains, I hike, I do what any normal person does. Yes, it is a lot harder for me, but I refuse to have it any other way. When I walk extremely long distances, yes, I am in pain. And when it's cold, there's a crack or two that show up.
Dina, I know we're going to come back to Shireen at the end to answer lots more questions and have a panel discussion, but you had a poll for us you wanted to ask people.
Yes, so if Danny can please put up the poll, and this is on the line of swimming. So what kind of a swimmer are you? The first option, I look like a drowning seal. The second, I wouldn't get my hair wet. Third, I swim all the time. And four, I often get mistaken for Chandler Clough. So we'll leave that poll on for a minute and everyone can go and vote and see where we were, because I think that does cover sort of the spectrum.
Shireen, I can tell you one of my highlights of the Rio Olympics was actually meeting Bert Leclos and having a photograph with Bert. He is a true character.
He is, he really is. I mean, when I used to train when I used to swim with Graham Hill in Durban, Bert was at the pool almost every single day, and he is absolutely hilarious. And you know what? He's just so kind, you know. So when you see him, you're automatically happy. He's lovely.
Fantastic. We'll keep the polls open until now, and shall we share the results? Shireen, what do you think of these results? 30% of people say they look like a drowning seal. 33% say they wouldn't get their hair wet, and only 34% of people say they swim all the time, and 3% think they look like Chandler Clough.
I think that's the most interesting.
I definitely think people should give me a call and then they want to get their hair wet.
So do you give swimming lessons?
Yeah, before the lockdown I was teaching. But then this lockdown happened and now I've just taken a bit of a break from it. And once everything starts calming down, I'm definitely going to teach again. Like my dream is to open up a Learn to Swim Academy. I actually just want to teach people what it means to fall in love with water.
That's amazing. I think my kids are coming to you.
Amazing. Oh, geez, I'll be more than happy to teach them.
Myself, yeah.
So I love the response from Karen Miller, who says, I couldn't answer the poll truthfully. My answer isn't there. I'm a typical Jewish female swimmer outside the pool. So Shireen, we're going to come back to you towards the end of the show and have a panel discussion and answer lots more questions that people are posing. Thank you for that remarkable, inspirational story. Absolutely, truly inspiring. And I think you can see from all the comments that people have put in the comment section just what a true role model you are for everyone in South Africa. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Like it truly humbles me. I don't walk around with this like, oh, Shireen the Olympian and whatever. I'm so humbled by the fact that I get to be part of things like this and I get to share my story so that people can see that no matter what life throws at you, we're going to be okay.
Because Gamze Yavor, this too shall pass. We'll be okay.
Exactly.
So Dina, helping us get through are in fact Manta Security, who've sponsored so many of these webinars. And you know, you can never be too safe during these times. I know friends who went out for coffee on Thursday and the Rolex gang came after people in the same coffee shop as them. We know people are having their phones snatched. Physical security during this time is absolutely crucial. So we're so grateful that Mantis have in fact become one of the big sponsors of these webinars. Danny, show us the Mantis ad, please. So Dina, tell us, who's our next guest?
Okay, from going from one swimmer to the next, and apparently these two ladies do know each other. We are going to Kiki Marks. I don't know if there's a connection. One's from Klerksdorp and one's from Krugersdorp. So Kiki, I don't know. Is there any connection? I know you two know each other.
I know Shireen very well because I was honored to be coached by her for my first Robben Island swim.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's amazing. I was going to say, I don't think there could be a better coach.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. We were 20 swimmers, novice swimmers, who came together to do the first Robben Island swim for Ort, organized by Robben Schmuckler. And Shireen offered to coach us at Sydenham Pool, and she was just amazing. And she got us through the water on that day.
Wow, right. So, but Kiki, I mean, you've literally done it all. I mean, you've climbed Kilimanjaro, you swam Robben Island, you swam the Dead Sea, and you have swum the English Channel twice and almost conquered it the first time and then came back to conquer it the second time. So when did this all begin? When did you decide, I just want to do crazy things that people think, normal people think are like completely out of reach?
When I was a little girl, I lived in Klerksdorp, and I used to swim a lot, and I used to do synchronized type dancing, and I used to do laps, and I used to belong to swimming school teams and also after school. And one day I heard about someone who swam the English Channel, and I said it to my parents, I'm going to swim the English Channel one day. But then I forgot about it, and sometimes thought about it, but swam until matric, and then went off to university, and then didn't swim. I used to do a bit of training in the pool, for gym, for exercise, but I didn't really swim much competitively or anything. And then in 2012, I opened the Jewish Report, and there was an article by Robben Schmuckler saying that 18 women were going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in August to raise money for a women's empowerment academy at Ort. And it just resonated with me. I just thought, this is something I need to do. And in February of that year, I had tried to climb Signal Hill, and I was out of breath and I was exhausted, and I didn't think I was going to make it. And my cousin Jenny and her son were with me, and Joseph was 6, and he said to me, come on, Kiki, I believe in you, you can do this. And I made it. I was feeling terrible when I got down the mountain. But when I saw that article, I just thought, this is something I want to do. And I phoned Robben up, and I got a slot on the team, a space on the team. And I walked into the gym, and I found a coach, and I said to him, this is what I look like, because I'm an overweight person and very unfit. And I said, I've got 3 months and I want to climb Kili. And I said, can you train me? And Andy, his name's Andy Lowry, and he said, I can. And so I started training. And from one adventure led to another adventure. The second one, the Robben Island swim, was Ort. And through that swim, my dream from a young child became a reality when I met a swimmer on the beach who said she was training she'd done the swim to do an English Channel swim the following year. So it just suddenly sparked that dream that I'd had as a little girl. And that's where my journey to the English Channel began. Sorry, Karen.
No, but I'm saying that's not your full-time job. Like, you have a real full-time career. So just tell us what you do on a normal day.
So I'm very fortunate. I'm a specialist anaesthetist in private practice in Joburg. So I put people to sleep and hopefully wake them up after their procedures. It's a job I love. I do children as little as 28 weekers, premature babies, to elderly people, and I have different specialities within medicine. So it's a job that I love, and it does keep me busy. So all these activities are done at times when I'm not working.
So as I'm going to say, that's a very demanding job, and you've always got to be on, and you've always got to be prepared, yet you still find time to get up at crazy hours. What time do you get up to train for all of these feats?
Well, for my English Channel attempt, I was getting up at 3:20 in the morning so that I could be at the gym at 4 a.m. The Planet Fitness Wanderers gym opens at 4 a.m. So I could swim for either 1, 2, or 3 hours, depending on my day. I usually start work between 7, 7:15. So I found, because my work's so unpredictable and you never know what time you're going to finish, I always felt it was important to be in the water at the crack of dawn so that I could do my training. Otherwise, I might miss it if work was unpredictable. So I was in the water at 4 a.m. every morning.
Just like you, Howie.
Exactly. Well, Kiki, Look, we know people who've climbed Kilimanjaro. It's a tough thing, but people do it. But there are very few people who swim to Robben Island. There's a huge jump between climbing Kilimanjaro and that. So what happened? Like, how did you decide to jump into that water? It's freezing cold. There's sharks. Why? Other than in pure insanity.
So after I finished Kilimanjaro, everyone kept saying, what's next, what's next? And I always loved swimming. And I'd heard about the Freedom Swim, which is swum around the 27th of April for Freedom Day. So I thought I'm going to try and swim it. But when I phoned to find out about it, they told me there were sharks. So I said, there's no ways I'm doing it. But then Robben Schmuckler phoned again from Ort. And she said to me, we're going to swim Robben Island. And I said to her, we can't, there's sharks. But she said she met a wonderful man and he was going to come up to Johannesburg to meet us. His name was Theodore Yach. And Theodore came to mentor us and explain the swim. And he told us not to worry about sharks. And he was a great mentor and he really gave me the confidence to do the swim. He had done, in August 2018, had done 108 Robben Island crossings. And unfortunately, he passed away in October of the same year. But he really was a mentor to us. And he encouraged all of us to come down to Cape Town. And we did the swim on the 24th of November, 2013. He arranged for 20 other swimmers to join us. It was about, I think, 15, 16 degrees. It wasn't very warm, but it was the most incredible day. You know, you get to meet people who love swimming you in the water. We hadn't, you know, it's difficult, as you say, I live in Joburg. How do you acclimatize? We met up with Shireen. She met us at the Sydenham pool. We swam outdoors and she trained us, coached us. At the Planet Fitness Wonders pool, there's a little 1 by 1 meter, a little pool in the change rooms, and it's about 10 degrees. And so we'd go there as a group and get into the water. And the first few times we got in, we could stay in for 2 or 3 minutes. And then what I did was I tried to stay in up to 45 minutes to try and acclimatize. But it's very different to swimming in the ocean. We went down to Cape Town, and the day before the swim, Theo actually took us to Clifton Beach. And although I'd swum in the sea my entire life, I'd never gone beyond the breakers and felt comfortable. And he actually took us past the breakers and we swam from Clifton 4 to Clifton 1 and back. And it was just exhilarating. It was just amazing to be so far out in the ocean and to feel comfortable. It was just wonderful. And the next day we did the swim. And there were 20 novices and 20 swimmers from Cape Town. And it was just incredible. The most incredible swim.
How long does it actually take you from Cape Town to Robben Island?
So it's a 7.5 kilometer swim, sometimes 8 kilometers. And it depends how slow or fast you swim. I'm a slow swimmer. Most of my swims have been over 3 hours. But there are people who do it in 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So it just depends on your speed.
And the thing that people worry about the sharks is the fact that you may look like a seal or may be mistaken for a seal. And yes. And somehow that will impact you, a shark may go for you. As you were swimming, does that pass through your head at all?
It always does. And every swim that I do at Robben Island, I worry about sharks. But as Theo said, like, don't worry about the sharks, be more worried about getting cold. There've only been, in about 20 years of the swimming of the Robben Island, only about 2 sightings of sharks. They thought they were sharks, that they actually pulled people out of the water. The more things you see are seals and dolphins. So got to believe that there are no sharks in the ocean. It's the only way to get through it.
And what do you wear for that swim? Do you wear a full wetsuit? Do you wear a costume?
So the rules of open water swimming are all you're allowed to wear is a normal Speedo costume, a cap and goggles. And if you have nose plugs or earplugs, but no wetsuits whatsoever.
So nothing, not for the Robben Island swim, not for the channel?
None of them. So you're only allowed to wear costume, goggles and cap, and I wear earplugs and I also wear a nose plug. I've never learned how to breathe without a nose plug, so I swim with a nose plug.
I understand that people who swim in cold water often rub themselves with some sort of fat to protect against the cold. What do you do that? What is that?
So I don't do that for my Robben Island swims, but for my channel swim, we use channel grease, which is a mixture of lanolin and Vaseline. And it's mainly to prevent chafing. It's not really to keep you warm because you can only put it on once. but it's mainly to prevent chafing, especially around your neck area, in your arms area, and in your groin area, so that you prevent chafing.
So how does it work? Does a boat go with you? Is there a boat right next to you as you swim?
Absolutely. You know, safety comes first. So you don't know where you're going either. You kind of jump into the water and you don't know where you're going. So each swimmer has a boat next to them. And on the boat is the skipper as well as the second. The second is the person who monitors you, makes sure that you're looking okay, and also feeds you. So you're not allowed to, one of the rules of open water swimming is that you're not allowed to touch the boat or a person for the entire swim. If you do, you're disqualified. So they are also there to try and feed you. So they'll throw you a bottle of water, or they'll throw you something to eat in a lunchbox.
So what are you eating on your journey?
So this is me in the channel. As you can see, the big boats, and the P&O boats going between France and England, and there are hundreds of them going past you all the time. I drink a drink called maltodextrin. It's a type of carbohydrate. It's an energy drink. And then I have treats along the way, which include fudge, banana with peanut butter, and then peaches in syrup.
So let's talk about mentally. Is this a physical feat, or is it a mental feat, or is it both?
It's both, but it honestly is a mindset. If you get your mind right, your body will follow. And I honestly believe that in everything that one does. You have to believe that you can do this, and you have to, your mind has to be focused. You have to be determined, and you have to have the passion, and your body will follow. You have to train your body to be able to do these feats. But I honestly believe the mind, my mind is strong. I put my mind to something and I really try and just go for it and try and enjoy it along the way. I think that's the most important thing, is that I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
So we'll get onto the channel in a second, but how many times have you now done the Robben Island swim?
So I've been fortunate enough to do 7 single crossings. And then I've also done 3 double crossings. A double crossing is you start at Big Bay in Blouberg Strand, you swim to Robben Island, touch the island, and then you swim back to Blouberg Strand. So that's about a 15-kilometer swim.
And I hear that, in fact, there could be a triple crossing that you're contemplating.
It's something that I'd like to do in the future. I've done the double, so I think the next thing to try is a triple. So hopefully that will happen.
How many people have done the triple crossing?
There are only a few men that have done it. I don't believe a woman's ever done it. So that would be quite nice. But only a few South African men have done it.
So let's talk about the English Channel, because what people don't realize is that more people have in fact summited Mount Everest than have swum the English Channel.
The first man to swim the English Channel. Yeah, sorry.
So no, please go ahead.
So the first man to swim the English Channel was Matthew Webb in 1875. And since then, only 1,674 solo swims have been done. The first woman was Gertrude Oedeler in 1914. So yeah, not many people have swum it. I'm the 69th South African woman, South African person to have done it, the 15th South African woman, and the first Jewish South African woman to have swum it. It's a feat. It's considered the Everest of swimming. It's a great swim. It really is an incredible swim, but it's a humbling swim. It's not always easy. You've got to have the right day with the right mindset and the right physical conditions.
So how far is it for that swim?
So you swim from Dover to Calais in France, and Dover in England to Calais in France. In a straight line, it's 33.5 kilometers. But on average, most people swim between 40 and 45 kilometers on the day, depending on the current and the tides.
And this wasn't the first time you tried to swim?
Well, let's talk about that first time. That first time, you're going fantastically well. But tell us what happens at the end.
So in 2016, I swam the English Channel. I started at 1:15 a.m. in the morning, and I swam in the dark for about 4.5 hours. And I was loving the swim. It was a great swim, and the currents were a little bit strong and the tide kept changing, and I'd been swimming for about 16 and a half hours, and I could see the beach, I could see land, and when I looked up, and the current was just so strong that I kept being pushed and pulled away from my boat, and they kept shouting and screaming at me to come closer and closer to the boat, but I just couldn't get there. And every time I looked up, it looked like I was getting further and further away from the beach. I gave it my all. I wasn't tired. I just wanted to keep swimming, and suddenly the boat was next to me, and the Channel Swimming Association monitor said that you've been trying for 3 hours to cross this 400 meters, and you're going backwards and sideways, and you're not going to make it. You need to get out of the water. And I begged and I pleaded to stay in the water. I knew I had it physically and mentally to continue, but they were adamant, and so I was forced to get out of the water. It was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. I knew in my own mind that I had the ability to do it. I was willing to continue swimming for as long as it took until I reached French soil. But it wasn't meant to be. It was hard, and it was devastating.
You were 400 meters from the beach.
Initially, I was 400 meters from the beach, but then I got pushed backwards and probably landed about 800 to a kilometer away from the beach. By the time, after those 3 hours of swimming, I was going backwards and sideways. I wasn't going forward.
So when you get on that boat, do you just start sobbing?
Yeah, I was sobbing. My support team, Derek and Debbie Fraser from Big Bay Events in Bloberg Strand, who have been my support team from the first Robben Island until now, the most amazing people were on the boat with me. I think, as Derek says, it's one of the hardest decisions that he ever had to make, to pull me out of the water. They just hugged me and held on to me. I was devastated. I was crying. And all I wanted to do was really phone my mom and tell her that I was okay, because we had lost signal. For those last 3 hours, people didn't really know where I was, because we were in French water and I just wasn't going anywhere. And yeah, I cried the whole way back. Kept thinking, like, why? I tried so hard. I knew I was ready. I knew I'd worked hard. I knew that I was strong enough, and I just wanted to carry on, but it wasn't meant to be. Where I ended, was where I was meant to be. I came back very devastated. I felt like a failure, and I even went to therapy to try and sort it through it, because you start to blame yourself and think, what could I have done differently? What did I do wrong? But in time, I got to realize that you can't beat nature. I wasn't meant to finish, and so yeah, it's still something that's painful and sad, but I grew so much from it, and I learned so much from it, and it changed my life forever in different ways. So in some ways, I'm grateful that I didn't finish, because it gave me a lot of strength and determination and resilience to try again.
So when did you decide to try again?
So actually, straight after I got out the water, Derek and I decided we're coming back. And I was fortunate enough to get a slot for a swim the following year in August 2017. You usually have to wait 2 years to get a slot, but I got a slot. Sorry?
So you have to actually book for it, and you can't just decide you want to swim and just go for it.
No, there are only 12 boats that operate during the swim season, which is from June to the end of September. So you have to book way in advance, and it usually takes 2 years to get a slot. But we were lucky to get a slot. I continued my rigorous training. I went off to Dover in 2017. I stayed there for 2 weeks. The weather was terrible. The currents were bad, and I never got to swim. So I came back even more devastated, because I thought my dream that I'd wanted, something that I wanted to do was just fading away, that it was just impossible. It was never going to happen. It's just never going to happen.
And then?
And I did the Dead Sea swim in 2016, and it was very much a healing swim. And I phoned Derek up, after 2017. We just decided that, I still needed to do this. This was my dream. And so he booked me another slot, and I got a slot for August 2019 with the same skipper of my boat, the Connemara, Kevin Sherman. And they looked at the best tides for me. I'm a slow swimmer. I'm about a 3 kilometer an hour swimmer. A lot of people do more like 4 kilometers an hour. So I'm quite a relatively slow swimmer. And they got me a slot for August 2019, and they got me a neap tide, which is a tide where the difference between low tide and high tide is very small. So it was going to be like an easy swim with less tide and less current. And so I went back in 2019, the day after my 50th birthday, and I swam for 16 and a half hours, and I touched French soil. So it was incredible.
Absolutely incredible, Kiki. I mean, beyond.
Thanks.
That's an amazing story. How do you get back into an operating theatre and practice as an anaesthetist after knowing what you've achieved? Does your day job not seem so much more boring now that you've done all of this?
No, not at all. The truth is, these are all challenges that I set for myself, and they made me grow as a person. And I'm very proud of what I did. I really am, but I'm just me. I don't see myself as someone I've done something incredible for me. And so going back to work, I love what I do. I'm blessed to work with the most amazing surgeons and nursing staff, and I do great stuff every day. So, it's just who I am. I'm very fortunate to have been able to achieve my dream and to be able to do these wonderful challenges.
But do you understand that you're a role model for so many people in this country?
I hope that I inspire people to go out there and try, do something. One of the proudest things that I'm proud of myself for going back. One of the things that I'm most proud of was the first time I did the Robben Island. I gave a talk at my shul, Pine Street Shul, and Emmanuel Gerson and his son were in the audience. And his little boy turned around to him after the talk and he said, "I want to swim the mile." And Emmanuel said, "Cool, let's train for it." And they both swam the mile. And when I heard that, I was so proud because I'd inspired someone. So that is a wonderful feeling. And the best thing about that is Emmanuel then did a Robben Island swim with me. So, if you can, it is wonderful to inspire people. So I am blessed and I am privileged to do that. But I just see myself as an ordinary person who just loves doing challenges and grow from them.
So Kiki, there's a question from Ernest Motta who says, does anyone swim from France to Britain? Why is it usually from Dover to Calais?
So they used to swim from France to England as well, but that was stopped about 6-7 years ago. The French decided to stop that route.
And why is it tide related?
I think it's tide related, and the French I think they want to just stop it. I don't really know the reasons, but I think tide is one of the reasons.
Okay, and we're just getting a question here to tell us about the Dead Sea swim, because that's also like an incredible feat. I mean, that's also not something that everyone just does every single day. How did you get involved with it, and what did it entail?
So actually, Ilan Herman from Soul Sport asked me to write an article. I mean, I don't usually write articles, but he asked me to write an article about a swimmer by the name of Milton Brest, who was about to do one of the highest swims in the world for an organization called Mad Swimmer. So I went to interview Milton, and he said to me, the first part of the swim is the highest swim in the world, and the second part is the lowest swim, which is the Dead Sea. And the minute he said Dead Sea, I said, I'm in. So the aim of the swim was to highlight the disappearing Dead Sea, the crisis of the Dead Sea. It's disappearing by 1.5 meters a year, and also to raise money for an organization called Mad Swimmer, which was started by Jean Craven. And he raises money for 14 orphanages in South Africa, or different children's organizations, I should say, in South Africa. And so there were 25 of us from all over the world, and we came together and we swam from Jordan to Ein Gedi. It was incredible. As you know, the sea's salty, so we wore a special mask over our face with a snorkel, because if you get the salt in your eyes, you can get blindness. If you ingest it, you can get dehydrated and kidney failure. You can't kick.
Yeah.
Say that again, sorry.
Not dangerous at all.
Yeah, no. I must be honest, my mom did not want me to do the swim. She's given me her blessing on every swim, but this one she really didn't want me to swim. But she finally gave me her blessing because she realized it was something that I needed to do. And you can't kick because of the density of the water. So, you know, your bum and your legs are actually at the water, and it's an all-arm swim. But it was just incredible when we were in groups of 5 and with boats as well. There hadn't been boats on the Dead Sea for over 40 years, and you can't launch a boat from the side. You actually had to bring cranes. They bought boats from Liat, and they had bought cranes, and they actually put the boats into the water. So even for the boatmen, it was a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, the Jordanian swimmers, there were 3, pulled out a few hours before the swim, and we were not allowed to land on Jordanian soil. So we were actually dropped 100 meters off the coast of Jordan. And then we swam to En Gedi. And at the end, about 800 meters from the beach, all 25 of us swam into En Gedi together. It was really an emotional and a healing swim for me, because I was a Jewish South African woman swimming to Israel, a place I love, and doing it for a worthwhile cause. We raised in excess of 1.4 million rand for Mad Swimmer. And I think we got to tell people about the Dead Sea and what was happening there, you know. And we also did it for Echo Peace Middle East, which is an organization which brings people together to try and talk about the issues in the area. But it was an incredible, incredible swim. I hope I don't sound vain. Earlier this year, all 25 swimmers, as well as all the organizers of the swim, were actually entered into the Guinness Book of World Records in recognition of the swim. So very proud moment for all of us.
So Kiki, last question. Tanya Glazer says, unbelievable. What's your next challenge?
So my next challenge in swimming, I've got 2 that I'd like to achieve. One is to swim around Cape Point. And then the other is to try a triple Robben Islands crossing. My mother's going to kill me.
We're going to come back to you a little later when we have the panel discussion, but what a remarkable tale. And let me tell you, I've been so moved about the story you told about your first channel swim, because it just shows such humanity and such real emotion and raw emotion, that I think that is probably the most inspiring thing that I've heard so far this evening. Kiki, a huge thank you. We're going to come back to you a little later on. But Dina, in the meantime, we have a poll that you'd like to run.
Absolutely. So we've got our second poll that's going to go up now. And we've got questions. Let's just launch the poll. All right, so it's talking about challenges and setting them for yourself. What challenges have you set for yourself? And there are multiple answers allowed. So is it climbing Kilimanjaro, running the Comrades, or other marathons, swimming Robben Island or the English Channel, or just simply getting fit or wearing matching socks? So you've got a full spectrum there of what you would potentially be aiming to do. So we'll leave that poll up for a little bit. Howard, where would you see yourself on that list?
Look, I'm particularly struggling with the matching socks during lockdown. Fear of heights, so Kilimanjaro is out. I feel like I can barely walk, let alone run. So I think there goes the marathon. No way I'm getting into the freezing cold water for Robben Island. So I wish you had a none of the above. That would be my ideal answer.
Well, then I think you'll just go with your socks.
I'll stick with the socks. Shall we see what people in fact decided? Here are the results. 3% of people would like to climb Kilimanjaro. 3% would like to run the Comrades Marathon. 2% would like to swim to Robben Island. 64% of people would like to get fit. And 27% of us think that wearing matching socks is probably the biggest challenge we'll succeed in. So with that, Dina, Sentient, in fact, this is the second time Sentient have sponsored one of our webinars, and I was absolutely amazed at the technology they have. It's all got to do with alarms and security in your home, and the fact that when that alarm goes off in the middle of the night and you open up one eye and you have no idea what's happening in your life, Sentient has a solution for you. Danny, let's see their ad, please.
We all know that feeling when your security alarm wakes you up blaring at 3 a.m. With Sentient, you immediately receive a push notification on your mobile phone with a 12-second video showing you what triggered your security alarm. Sentient empowers you to respond appropriately to threats or to simply go back to bed with peace of mind. If you're away on holiday, Sentient allows you to share temporary access of your home with your house sitter. By using the app, they can open the gate, disarm the alarm, and come inside to water the plants and feed the dogs. You can get notified when they arrive and have their activity recorded to the cloud, or simply watch the archived videos to check in on the dogs being fed. If they forgot to rearm the security alarm, no problem. You can rearm the alarm. Sentient gives you control when you need it. Get notified when your loved ones arrive home safely, and even open the gate for them via the Sentient app. Stay in touch with your home, gain control when you need it, and be there even when you aren't. Sentient. Connect, detect, and protect.
I don't know about you, Dina, but I definitely need that.
Indeed. No, and also to be able to see it all on your phone makes life so much easier. I definitely think I need it as well.
So we are now going to meet Liat. Liat is our third and final person that we're speaking to this evening. Liat, you are not an athlete.
No, I'm the ordinary in this panel.
Certainly not ordinary. That's why it's everyone's ordinary to extraordinary, because you really, really are. But you do run.
Yeah, I'm running, but just to be fit, not into marathon.
Amazing. Now, you haven't been in South Africa too long. You are the director of the Jewish Agency and the director of the Israel Center in South Africa. Tell us, how did you get here?
I think all over my life, I knew that we want to live in a Jewish community. And we want to spend some time in one of the Jewish community. I never thought it's going to be South Africa. I was sure it's going to be North America or something like that. And then 2.5 years ago, I finished my previous job, and we thought it's a good time with the age of the kids to take some time off from Israel and maybe do shlichut. We approached the Jewish Agency. We know a few people there. They for years asking us to go on shlichut. And then we called and said, guys, this is the right time for us. Do you have something to offer? And they said, yes, South Africa. And at the beginning, I said no, after hearing about all the security in South Africa. And then they told me, go and see and meet the community. I came for a week without my family. I met incredible people and very special community. And I decided that it will be a very meaningful time for us as a family to come and to spend the time with this amazing community. And this is what we're doing.
Amazing. And also, you've also, tell us, you're also a professional. What are you qualified as? Because you've got so many different parts of you. You've won awards. You've been involved in so many different organizations. Tell us about your actual sort of
my background. Yeah. So my professional, I have a PhD in psychology. My PhD dealt with the relationship of Sephardic Jews and Arabs. And I think my privilege in my life was to take almost any, I can say conflict, but maybe two parts of the society and work with them for a meaningful time in my life. Any conflict in the Israeli society, I had the privilege to meet and to try to balance and to connect the two parts of this community identity. So one of them was like my PhD. I got to my PhD from participating in a dialogue group of Arabs and Jewish in the university and outside of the university. One of them was of people, psychologists and therapists that was working, one of them in the Jewish community, one of them in the Arab community. And after working in those, participating in those dialogue groups, I understood that there is a big question why the Sephardic Jews that spoke Arabic. Howard, you asked me if I'm speaking Arabic before. Why the Sephardic Jew didn't take a much major part in connecting the two communities. And I decided to take that to my research and to deal with it and to investigate what's happened to Sephardic Jew while they're getting to Israel and what happened to their identity and where they took that part of themselves into the conflict between Arabs and Jews in Israel. So this is one conflict that I was dealing with. Besides that, I was working with New Orleans for many, many years. When I was in the army, I have been sent to Russia for 4 months to work with the Jewish community there. It wasn't really undercover, as you put in your ad, but kind of. It wasn't allowed to soldiers to really go and, as a soldiers, to go to another country. But they decided that us as the soldiers, I was a tour guide as part of my army service, tour guide and an educator in the army. They want us to go and spend a few months in the Jewish community in Russia, 1 month in Moscow and 2.5 months in St. Petersburg, and to work with a small community there, teaching them Hebrew, to give them Zionist education. So we were 2 soldiers flying with lots of boxes of food because the army are obligated to supply food to soldiers. So to have kosher food with us, I think we fly with like 30 boxes of food. And we got special private driver and apartment. And it was freezing. It was March in St. Petersburg. It's like minus 20 degrees when you feel like snow all over. And we were just every morning waking up and driving to a small community with like 10, 20, 50 Jews, getting there, doing activity, teaching Hebrew, talking about Israel. It's before the internet. I was sending fax to my parents, telling them what's going on with me. It was very, very interesting time. And I think that was part of my journey with Jewish community around the world.
So Liat, let's go back to your facilitation of dialogue between Jews and Israeli Arabs. So you did your PhD in this topic, looking at why, and your family comes from Tunisia. So they're North African Jews. Your parents spoke Arabic. They arrive in Israel, but their identity shifts and changes. So why is it that we see so many of the North African Jews maybe pulling away from their roots and not participating and not creating those links through to Arab Israelis and the Arab-speaking world?
So you're taking us to a very, very gentle conversation in the Israeli society. I think now it's more open and people are willing to talk about it. But when the establishment of Israel occurred, they request people to put aside their Sephardic identity. The main identity was on the mainstream was a Sabre identity, was a more Ashkenazi Israeli identity, and the Sephardic identity, the Mizrahi identity, Mizrahi in terms of like North Africa countries, was considered the identity of the enemy. And those Jews have been requested to put it aside and to say goodbye to their identity. Their names have been changed. The consensus and the ability to put music and culture and food in the public sphere was not allowed. And people, in order to feel connected, to feel belong to the main Israeli society, need to forget their roots. And it took like, I think, 30 years to the young people to say, hey guys, we forgot ourselves. We forgot the history of our family. We forgot the culture that we have in our own houses. And only in the 70s, it came back to the mainstream. You asked me about facilitating dialogue, Howard, but that was one dialogue between Arabs and Jews. But my last position before I came to South Africa was to facilitate dialogue between all the different communities in the Israeli society. I think that the community, the society in Israel understand that there is not just Arabs and Jews. There is so many small communities. And if I said in the 70s, the Sephardic Jews felt that they can bring themselves up to the front and they can bring back their identity to the mainstream, I think many other small communities felt the same. And then in 2015, we're finding ourselves in a very diverse society with not main narrative that can put us and take us all to the future. And then there came a lot of NGOs that asking us to facilitate dialogue between all those parts of the Israeli society. And I have been requested to facilitate process like that. It was called Living Together. And we brought together leaders from all the different societies, Haredic, ultra-Orthodox, Sephardic ultra-Orthodox, and Ashkenazi ultra-Orthodox, Yamans, people that holding left wings and right wings opinion, women, men, from the periphery, from the center, all over, people that really present the different communities. And we put them together for a 1.5 year process in order to understand where the Israeli society can go to. It was amazing process, and those people took with them so much to their organization, to their society, trying to help people understand the others' narratives, and trying to build better community and better society.
So what was that process like? Explain to us what you actually put them through over that 1.5 years.
So at the beginning, we asked each one of them to take us to his community, even by just giving a lecture and showing picture and bringing movie, or by actually going to the community. Like we spent a full day in Bnei Brak. We went to the Panovich Yeshiva, and then to few organization. We went to a few houses to see how the houses of Haredic people look like. For some of us, it's something that we knew before, but for some of the people, it was the first time that they actually went into Bnei Brak, to the society, to meet people, walking on the street, see how the life's going there. And we have amazing dialogue with the people there. One of the main dialogue inside the Haredic society is a conflict between people, Sephardic Haredic people and Ashkenazi Haredic people. And at the end of that day, one of the Ashkenazi rabbi told to the Sephardic lady, the Haredic Sephardic lady, that he won't let his son marry her daughter. And I think for people in the society, they know that Sephardic Haredic people are not married Ashkenazi Haredic people. They're keeping the marriage inside the very small community. But for people outside of the community, it seems unreasonable. Why? You are both Haredic people. Why you can't marry your kids to each other? And just to understand the process that people going through, at the end of the process, this is just one example of one day in Bnei Brak, but at the end of the process, when we try to understand what changed in the people's lives, that person that said that he won't let that lady marry his son, said that the change that he took to himself, that he's going to the minyan of the Sephardic shul under his house in the last months. And he said, I understand that I have something that I need to change in my life. And I'm starting it by just going to the minyan of the Sephardic shul under my house and to start being part of that society, community. And maybe in the future, something else will change, but this is one step in my journey.
Amazing. And also, can you give us also an example that you had with the Arab-Israeli dialogue in terms of what you actually did there as well?
Yes, definitely. With the Arab-Israeli dialogue, we try to do different stuff. One of them was taking all the group to visit one of the villages that were abandoned in 1948 by the Arabs in the north. And we were walking there with people that were living there in the village and took us like a tour in the destroyed village. And while we were walking there together with them, you saw people that really holding a hope and talking about the future and not carrying a lot of anger inside of them about what happened to them in 1948. And it was very impressive tour in those villages. And then they took us to Tamra. Tamra is an Arabic village. And we were sitting there and seeing a presentation of one of the Arabic guy. And he asked one of the very right-wing opinion guy to press the presentation. and to help him with putting the slides while he was talking. And at the end of that day, that guy said, you know, I was never thinking to myself that I will press presentation with Hamas flags and demonstration against part of Israel. It was very, very moving day, because you saw people that left their houses and ran away and have been part of the war. But although they're feeling that there is a hope for them to stay in Israel and to find a way to get over those piece of history and to live with each other. I will share with you one more thing, that we were scheduling a day to visit the West Bank, like Nachluyot. And before that day, we had a very, very big discussion with all the group. And few people said that they won't allow themselves to go there, that they never cross the West Bank and they don't want to go and visit like Nachluyot and the settlement. And it was amazing that one of the Bedouin guy stood up and said, guys, I'm a Bedouin. For me, it's supposed to be one of the hardest things to go to the West Bank and to see my Arab cousins, brothers, living their life there. But I believe that's the only way for us is to really be open to listen to all the narrative and to understand all the story. And I request each one of you, even the people with a so left-wing opinion that never crossed the border, that never went there before, to come with me to that tour and spend with me the day there. And it was so meaningful that after that, everyone said, okay, we are all willing to go with you and to visit the West Bank.
It's amazing how many preconceptions we all have. I think, Liat, I told you a story. Part of my master's degree is in international conflict resolution. And we facilitated negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. And one of the Palestinians was the daughter of a Jordanian cabinet minister, Palestinian cabinet minister in Jordan. And she walks up to me during the discussions and she says, "Oh, you're from South Africa. I have to tell you a story." She said, "I was here at Harvard and there was someone in my class and his name was Anthony Gordon." And I said, "Oh, of course I know Anthony Gordon. He was a year ahead of me at King David. You know, Anthony Gordon was like the head boy of it. He was the loudest, funniest person." And she said, "Yes, at Harvard, if Harvard had a head boy, it would have been Anthony Gordon." And she said, and he spoke to everyone in the class. He was the funniest, loudest individual. Today he's a rabbi in Los Angeles, but everyone knew Anthony Gordon. He was friendly with everyone, but he never ever spoke to me. And she said, so I worked this out in my head. He was Jewish, so he probably hated me because I was Arab and a Palestinian. He was South African, so he was probably going to be a racist. And she said it bothered me the entire year. And one day she was sitting in the canteen at the Hark in the law school of Harvard University, and Anthony Gordon walked in and walked straight up to her table and said, "You know, you look so much like my ex-girlfriend. It's actually hurt me the entire year to look at you." And she said in that one moment, she realized that all these preconceptions that we have about each other are all in our heads. And we have to actually learn to speak to each other. So you come from a society that is in many ways fractured between Haredi, religious and non-religious, between Sephardi and Ashkenazi, between Jews and Palestinians and Arabs, between different religious sectors, between even within the Sephardi and Ashkenazi communities, many fractures. Do you see hope? Is there a common basis to build a society in Israel today?
Big question. It's not an easy time now, as you probably all see in the news. But I do see hope. I think you can't live without a hope. As we hear before, with all the amazing story tonight, you have to have the hope to live your day and to look for tomorrow. Without hope, we cannot survive. I think when I'm looking at South Africa, I think you can learn a lot from South Africa. And I thought that one of the reasons that I came to South Africa was because of my way of looking at all this fraction society and thinking how we can help people live with each other. The community that I was living in Israel, the small village that I was living in Israel, it's a village of the mixed mixed religion people, secular and religious people that decided to live together and to grow our kids together. And it's not easy. We have lots of challenges on a daily basis, whether we should have activity on Shabbat or not, whether the shul is the main building or whether a club should be the main building of the community. A lot of interesting discussion. But we can see lots of families that decided to put their lives together and to live in the same place. So I believe we still have a lot to do in Israel, and we have a lot to educate each other. All the preconception, as you said before, to help people meet each other, to listen to the story that their neighbor have, to open their eyes and to see that all of us just want to live here in a peace and with harmony with each other, and to find a way to bridge between the disagreement and the beliefs how the country should look like.
Incredible story, amazing. I mean, you have to do amazing work, and there's so much that we haven't even talked about that you do. So I don't know if you've got any more questions before we should bring back all our panelists.
Dina, I think what we should do is watch the first advert that we messed up right in the beginning. Let's watch that, and then let's bring back all the panelists for a much broader discussion. I see a lot of people have been posting information and questions in the chat. Please, if you have questions for any of the panelists, please put it into the Q&A section. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love for you to engage with all of our panelists, and we'll be straight back after this first advert.
Alcohol is back. We're not there yet, but the good times will return. So why not get whatever you need from Thirst's online store? The best thing about it, instead of schlepping to the shops, you'll receive delivery within 24 hours. Get your orders in fast, because who knows when the next ban is coming. Details in the chat. And the best thing yet, now that events are open up to 50 people, take advantage of Thirst 50% off bar hire for your wedding, birthday, bar mitzvah or next celebrations. Details in the chat.
What a wonderful voiceover that was. Well, welcome back to all of our panelists, and thank you for the most remarkable, inspiring evening this evening. So we have lots and lots of questions from people, and maybe we can kick off. Well, Monica Wolfson says, Kiki, please can you explain what a triple crossing is?
It means that you go from Robben Island to Big Bay, back to Robben Island, and then back to Big Bay. So it's 3 ways.
So do you stop in between, or you just carry on?
You just touch Robben Island or touch the beach and you go straight on.
Terrifying.
I'm with you, Howard.
And for Kiki, someone keeps on asking about whether you did any COVID anesthetics. If so, please describe. That seems like a slightly strange question for tonight.
Well, we're living in the time of COVID, so I have done COVID anesthetics, and the most important thing is to keep everybody safe, both all the staff and the patient. And so we wear full PPE and we take all the precautions necessary to do the anesthetic. But, patients who are COVID positive are more at risk for both mortality and morbidity post-anesthetic and surgery. So it's a very risky time for people who are COVID positive who need surgery. But our healthcare system is doing an amazing job, and our hospitals and doctors and healthcare workers are trying their best to do the best possible work that they can do to save people's lives.
I think the next question is for Liat, and it says, my mother was from a mixed Sephardi Ashkenazi background and was expelled from Egypt in 1958 with relatives killed for being Jewish. Did you deal with the post-traumatic stress trying to facilitate forgiveness between the people?
It's an amazing story. And it's one of the questions. When I was dealing with my PhD, I decided to focus on one community because each community have a different story and different relationship with the local Arabs. But my professor, the one that instruct me and support me in my PhD, was Professor Dan Bar-On. And Professor Dan Bar-On used to have a dialogue group between kids of Nazis and kids of survivor on the 70s. It was something very, very extraordinary to put those people together in the same room. And he believed that we can recover from the anger, from the story, from the past, and build future together. And I think even though that we had hard story, even from those Sephardi country, we can still build a future looking at the good stuff that they had there. And in any community, they have good part of the story that they can share, not just the exile of those countries.
Amazing. I think this one is for Shireen. It says, Shireen, thanks for your remarkable, inspiring story. Would you be able to teach a Down syndrome daughter? She loves being in water, but not really able to swim properly. I don't think that's necessarily asking if you would be able to teach the daughter, but like, have you had any experience in trying to teach kids with Down syndrome how to swim?
No, I haven't had any experience with teaching anyone with Down syndrome how to swim, but it's definitely something I could definitely do. I mean, it's all about getting someone comfortable in the water, and the first and most important thing you have to do when you start learning how to swim is to learn how to breathe. And once you can get your breathing right, the fear for the water automatically goes away. So that's the fundamental basic of what I would teach this child for sure.
Is someone once said to me that the first thing that you have to do when you teach someone to swim is just to be comfortable to put your head in the water. After that, the rest is just simple.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with putting your head in the water comes breathing. So it's just getting to the point where you understand when I take my breath and when I exhale. And once you've got that down, the water's just so much fun.
Cool. Dina, do you want to jump in with some questions?
Absolutely. So there's a question here for Kiki. What is the requirement to hike Kilimanjaro, and how long does it take? Do you have any tips?
There aren't any really requirements. You just have to be fit. I don't think you have to be super fit. I wasn't super fit. And in fact, the most important thing, because you're going at altitude and you're going higher and higher, you actually have to go slowly. It's one of the things they have guides on that kept saying pole, pole, which means go slowly, go slowly. You do have to have a relative amount of fitness. I trained for 3 months in the gym and also climbed the West Cliff stairs to train for it, and did some hikes in and around Johannesburg. And it's a wonderful climb. Do it with a group. It just makes it more special. We climbed with Tribe Safari with Lance de Villiers. He was an incredible man. He's probably done over 50 climbs. He's just very spiritual. And there are different routes that you can take up Kili, and it takes between 4 and 5 days. We had a Shabbos, so we didn't climb on Shabbos. So we took 4 days up and 1 day down. But you can do it in 3 or 4 days if you want to. But it's an incredible adventure, and I would really recommend it.
Cool. So I hope that answers that question. I think I've actually also always wanted to climb Kili, but I know you've got to have the training.
Just do it. You don't have to be super fit. I'll really be honest with you. I was the slowest climber and walker on the climb, and for summit night I was in the front to keep the group going slowly, because as you go higher, so the air becomes thinner, there's less oxygen, so you can't sprint up it. So you don't have to be super fit. You just have to have a relative amount of fitness.
And you've got to have all the kits. You've got to have, because it's very cold.
Yes, well, you go from sunny weather and lush green evergreens to desert to glaciers. So you have to have all the kit. You can hire all the kit if you want to from the various groups that do it, or you can buy your own.
I see we still have people posting questions in the chat. Please, if you have any questions for anyone, they have to go in the Q&A section. That's the place where we look for questions. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the right place. Otherwise, to be quite honest, we're probably just not going to see them.
So now there's a question for Liat coming in. How important do you think it is for Israelis to speak in Arabic or to have a basic knowledge of Arabic?
Wow, it's a great question. I think it's very, very important. I feel very pity that I can't speak Arabic. And just before we came, my husband was trying to initiate a new project of trying to help everyone in Israel learning a bit of Arabic. I believe this will be one of the first way to connect between the two communities. But still, most of the kids are not learning and not have the option even to learn Arabic in Israel.
So in fact, Liat, let's stay on a question similar to that, because we saw this week the first flight between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The Middle East has changed, and suddenly Israelis will soon be able to go shopping in Dubai, and that seems to be top of the Israelis' agenda. And South Africans will be able to get to Tel Aviv flying through Dubai now instead of through Ethiopia or Turkey. The world has changed. And do you think with the world having changed, that's going to change the perspective and the approach of many Israelis to some of their neighbors?
I really hope so. This is the only way to survive in the locations that we have been choosing to live in. We have to find a way to live with our neighbors. We have to find a way to develop the area, to develop the ability to work with each other and to support each other. When we're looking just on ourselves as Israeli, we're missing the area that we have been chosen to live in. I believe this is the only way for us to survive there, to working on relationship, to build peace, and to find a way to more connection, to more cooperation, to more support. We're doing it a lot. There is a lot of things that's going on under the radar. How we're helping in the health department, lots of NGOs that working across the borders, even with countries that we are not in a peace agreement. But still, there is a lot to do. A lot to do on the daily education with kids, looking at their neighbors and saying, wow, I wish I could meet my Jordanian friend there and have connection with him and maybe play with him on the computer and maybe once visit him and have delegation from school there to my school. We still have a lot to do.
Amazing. Shireen, question for you. What do you do now? What keeps you busy?
So I'm actually in the process of immigrating to America. I've actually got all my paperwork done. Everything's been approved. And I was actually about to do my final interview before heading to the States, and then the lockdown happened. So I've actually been at home, which has been amazing. My dad passed away like 2 years ago. And it's been amazing. I've just been able to be at home and to spend time with my mom and to be able to be here for her. So as soon as the skies open, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to get my green card and potentially going to go and open up a swimming school. And I've also got the privilege of dating the most beautiful Israeli guy. And I think I'm going to make my way to Israel. So I'm just on an adventure. Like, oh, it's amazing.
That is.
Yeah, so I just want to know, what is your advice to people who have had such obstacles to overcome? Like, what do you say to them when you say, like, you think like things might be impossible, but look what you've achieved? What advice would you give them?
Sure. It's actually such a beautiful question. I would advise them to take a deep journey to go and look within, because everything you ever possibly need is already existing on the inside of you. And if you are able to just quiet out all the noise, the opinions of other people, the expectations of what you should be, and just listen to your own inner voice, I would definitely advise people to just go ahead and do that. Because when you listen to yourself and you truly speak your truth and you show up as the person that you are proud to be, you can achieve absolutely anything you set your mind to.
So I'd like to read something that came through, and this is from someone who's watching. Said, such an incredible evening tonight, such inspiring stories from amazing leaders. Kiki was my anesthetist for a big surgery I had years back. She is as warm and caring in person and as she comes across on the screen, and is as inspiring in her work as her achievements. And this person says, working with Liat, her humility shines through, and so much of her impact comes from bringing diverse people together to create powerful solutions that bring others together. A real privilege. So we would also like to hear what you think about this evening. We have given you access to 3 of the most inspiring, remarkable people in South Africa. So please use the chat section. Let us know what you thought of this evening. We are going to sum up now with each of our participants, but before they go, we'd love you to be able to give them some feedback and for you to tell us what you've learned and what has inspired you this evening in listening to these 3 remarkable people. So, Kiki, a question has come in. Is Everest on your agenda?
No. I did think after climbing Kili, we were going to maybe climb a mountain in Russia or maybe to base camp Everest, but that's on hold for now. I do lots of hikes around South Africa with some of the Kili girls and some other girls. We've done the Whale Trail, we've done a Crocodile Trail, and I've also done the Otter Trail. So I'm enjoying the local hikes, but I'm not planning to do Everest at the moment, no.
So, Kiki, in summation, if you were to give people out there advice, I know it's a hard thing to do. Is there one mantra or something that keeps you going, that inspires you, that you'd like to share?
Hashem gave us all the potential to do anything that we want to do if we just make the decision to do it. It isn't easy. It's going to take hard work and dedication and determination, but just go out and try. Just try whatever you want to, be passionate about it and go for it. You know, they say you never lose, you only win or you grow. And that's what I've learned along the way. It's really about the journey and just go for it. I believe that we all have the potential to do something in our lives, and you just have to find that you love and you're passionate about and go for it.
Remarkable. Liat, I see Desiree Moodley says, thank you, Liat, for your inspiring work. Your work in Israel is most valuable. How can South African society benefit from your work? South Africa is also a very divided and hurting society. You must have seen that in the last few years being here.
Yeah. I mainly come to work with the Jewish community, but I believe you can't look just on the Jewish community, even if it's the main focus of my work as an Israel Center Director. Just before the Corona, we started a dialogue group between one of the Muslim community in Joburg and one of the Jewish community. We also brought a delegation of Arab and Jewish women to the community to go around to the school and to show the ability to communicate and to have dialogue. And I think I have this vision in my mind of how diverse people can live with each other in any aspect of my work, even if it's mainly focused on the Jewish community.
So Liat, tell us finally what inspires you.
My parents, both of them passed away, but they were very, very inspiring people. My mother, she's the oldest of 15 kids, and my father was the oldest of 8 kids. And both of them, as you said, Kiki, just dream and fulfill the dream and make their life as they wish to have. They both passed away very, very young. My father 55 and my mother 62. But even though when we looked about their short life, we thought that they did so many stuff in their life and managed to contribute to the society and to the community in Israel.
Remarkable. Shireen, so the final word comes to you. You have just proved yourself to be the most resilient person, with not a doubt in their minds that when you set yourself on a target, that you're going to achieve it. It's that self-confidence that just exudes from you. So is there anything you can share with all of us that will maybe rub off on all of us, that we can be just a little like you?
Oh my goodness.
And I think also just to add to that, what really also just comes out is that you're just complete comfort with yourself and your happiness with yourself. And I think that's what people like really get from you. And I think that's such an important quality that not a lot of people have that they're just comfortable in their bodies and in their own space.
Sure. So I think Dina, you actually just summed it up. If I could give anyone the best advice, I know there's this whole thing going around the globe of self-love and learn to love yourself, but like it's the real thing. Like you have to go out there and you have to discover parts of yourself that you don't necessarily like. Like you have to dig deep into the shadow of yourself and to understand that there's times where I'm gonna feel like, oh my goodness, I'm just not good enough. But the golden polarity towards that is that I'm extraordinary. So to be able to find the balance between these two and understand that both of these qualities exist inside of you, and to make peace with those things, it's a beautiful internal journey. And through that process, you're going to find such magic inside of yourself and such comfortability in who you are. And once you are able to find that in yourself and to heal yourself from all of these past wounds, it just radiates from you, and it automatically just shows up in the world everywhere you go. So when you take the time to genuinely get to know yourself, it's just going to radiate everywhere you go. So the work is hard, but once you get to know yourself, it's really, really worth it.
Dina Diamond, what a panel you put together this evening. That has been the most remarkable, inspiring evening.
It has indeed. And thank you to all three of you. I mean, your stories are so inspiring. I think you don't realize the impact and the reach that you have. And tonight, just the comments alone are proving that. So thank you so much for taking your time, because we know you guys are very busy. So thank you for all the time that you have given us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A remarkable evening, 3 remarkable stories. Don't forget, we'll be back on Thursday evening, and we're going to be talking about something completely different. We're going to be talking about reading and how you should be reading to your kids, what you should be doing on screen, what you should be doing on books. And that will be hosted by Sean Mattison on Thursday evening. So don't forget to join us 8 p.m. on Thursday evening. Danny, I don't know if you're going to be sharing the screen with us so people can get a reminder of that. If you haven't left us a comment, please leave a comment for all of our panelists. We share all of our panelists, all of the information and all the comments that you give us with all of our panelists. So if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. So please put that in the chat section now. Danny, are you putting up the image for Thursday evening? Danny's giving us the thumbs up.
Yes, I will do that indeed, with a link for people to click to register as well.
While he's doing that, while we're on the subject of books, one of the comments that's come in is asking to say they can't wait to look forward to reading all 3 of your books.
So let's actually ask, Shireen, is there a book in you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Kiki, is there a book in you?
Hopefully. I must be honest, a woman by the name of Sue Osher's just published a book called One Stroke at a Time, and I wrote one of the chapters in the book. It's a great book. It's very inspiring. It's all about South African open water swimmers, and it's definitely worth the read. Fantastic.
Liat, do you think there's a book within you?
No, not really.
Okay, Danny, show us how people can register for Thursday evening, please. So it's called There's No App for Your Lap, and it's all going to be all about reading to your kids and encouraging your kids to read. So you'll be able to register. Danny's going to stick in the chat section right now the link for people to be able to do that. We're going to leave the chat open for about another 5 minutes to allow people to in fact leave us any more comments. But with that, we're going to play out right now with, in fact, our Shofar competition again, so you can just see the entries that we played this week. Good night. We'll see you all on Thursday evening. Thank you to all our panelists. Danny, thank you very much for tweaking all the buttons this evening.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Dera של שושנים.
Nice, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Damn! Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. That's what you call blown away.